Hello there, monsters and men, ladies and people, and welcome to Recharging. Standing right here is the Kona Electric, but not just a Kona Electric, it's actually my Kona Electric. I have this car now for 11 months and I've driven 25,000 kilometers with it, and it's time for a review. So let's start with the outside of the car. The Kona EV is a compact crossover. It's not a big car, we will come to that later. It does have a petrol brother, but I do like the look of this one better. And that's because the petrol brother does have a lot of black plastic also around the headlights. I'm not a fan of that. It is an electric car, so you can see it has a closed front for better aerodynamics. It does have aerodynamic rims, and those are basically the only distinctions you can make from the petrol brother that it is an electric vehicle. So it's quite normal looking, and for a lot of people that is a plus. I don't really mind it. I like it when cars look a little bit more different and more shout out, like, hey, look at me, I'm an electric car, I'm futuristic. But again, for a lot of people, that is a con. It is an electric vehicle, so the big question is now, does it have a frunk or front boot, fruit, however you want to call it? So let's check that out. So let's open the bonnet, and does it have a frunk, fruit, however you want to call it? Unfortunately, no, it does not have one. So what if you go to the back of the car? Again, I quite like the looks. It's not really different from the petrol version, only that it doesn't have an exhaust pipe, of course. So what about the boot, about the practicality then? Well, the boot space here is 334 liters, which is, it's not a lot. Again, it's not a big car, not at all. If you put down the rear seats, you got 1100 liters of boot space. It's easily done by a few handles over here, and you can just drop them down like that. Only if you want to get them up, you have to go to the rear doors and get them up again. Also, as you can see, I have my charging cables over here in this bag from Hyundai, and that's because, well, if you put this up, there is no additional space to put your charging cables. It just doesn't fit, or you have to put away this foam thingy over here, but it can be quite handy. But then the last big question is, does this boot fit a human? Let's find out. Does it fit? Barely. It's not big. It's not big. It doesn't pass the test. It's not big enough. So what about the space in the back seats? Well, the front seat, the driver's seat, is in my typical driving position. I'm 1 meter and 85 centimeters, so I'm average for a Dutch guy. And well, I'm sitting okay. Knee room is just there. Headroom is okay. But I can imagine that if you're taller than me, and you have a taller driver, so the seat is a little bit more to the back, this can get quite cramped. Also, the floor is quite high because of the battery pack in the floor, so it is okay for children and for average or a little bit tinier than average adults. But if you're a little bit longer, this is not it. And also for longer trips, because the floor is a little bit higher, again, it can get quite uncomfortable. Good thing though, we do have a little armrest over here with cup holders, so that is nice. And we do have some soft touch materials over here and over here. And of course, the Kona is based on a cheaper car, so this is hard plastic. I don't mind it that much. At least you have a nice soft armrest for your arm. So what about maybe the most important position of them all? The driver's seat or the front seats. This is the most luxury Kona Electric, and you basically have everything that you need. You got heated seats, cooled seats, heated steering wheel, climate control. You got this 7-inch infotainment system which works nice and fast. The only downside about this infotainment system, in my opinion, is the 10 years ago look. What do I mean by that? How I feel it is that when Tesla came out with their Model S and now the Model 3, every car maker is like, damn, we actually need good infotainment systems which are modern, and this is still an old one, where you have these huge black bezels. And if they weren't there, the infotainment screen could be twice as big than it is right now. I don't understand why car makers do that. It's just how it is. This is getting fixed though in the 2020 model, because the 2020 model will get a 10-inch infotainment display, which doesn't have these ugly black bezels. So that is a huge plus. What do we have more? We have a digital screen right in front of me for the driver. It's not, you cannot personalize it, but all of the info is there that you need. So your range, information about your trip, information about your battery status, how much percent is it, everything that you need. You got your cluster of buttons here for all your driving assistance. Again, because it is based on a cheaper car, you can also see it around here. Most of the things, like this one, most of the things are hard plastic. This is soft touch, and there's a little bit of soft touch on the door again, but that's it. And yeah, that is because it's based on a cheaper model. Again, I don't mind it that much. Everything is well built. It doesn't rattle or anything. But overall, I quite like the interior. I like this center console that is a little bit different from the petrol version, because there's no shifting gear thing. You got a little compartment over here with charging, USB charging, and also 12-volt charging. It's a little bit of an odd position, but whatever, I don't use it that much. And in here you actually got your wireless charging pad and your USB connection. And this USB connection you need for Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, which this car has, which is a big plus for keeping it up to date. I mean, it doesn't matter if your car is 5 years old or not. If it has Android Auto, it always has an up-to-date infotainment system, in my opinion, because I never use the onboard navigation. The downside though of not using the onboard navigation is that on your HUD over here, which is not nicely integrated into the windscreen, but is a plastic little thing that you have to look in. Again, I don't mind that much, but it is something to improve, is that you don't see navigation instructions in there. So that is the con of using Android Auto. Also, you maybe want to know about the cup holders. Well, there are a little bit of cup holders here in the doors, which can hold some large bottles. There are 2 cup holders over here. There's a huge storage compartment right in the armrest. And of course, there's the glove box, which is of a decent size. And besides that, there aren't a lot of more storage compartments or anything in the car. So what about the driving of the Kona Electric? The Kona Electric has a 64-hour kilowatt battery pack, and with that battery pack it has a real-world range of, in summer, of around 400 to 450 kilometers, and in winter it's around 300 to 350 kilometers. It has a 214 horsepower engine, electric motor, and with that it can accelerate from 0 to 100 in about a little bit less than 8 seconds, which is fast. This car feels fast. Of course, you have the battery pack in the floor, so that means the center of gravity is quite low, so the car is stable enough. The steering of the Kona Electric is light but precise. It doesn't have a lot of feeling to it. As you may have already know, the battery pack is located in the floor, and because of that the center of gravity is quite low, which means the car is stable in corners. Also, the suspension, it can be a little bit firm. If you have a lot of bumps right after each other, you can feel it working. But overall, on the more smoother roads, exactly here in the Netherlands, the roads are perfect, and over occasional bumps and smooth roads, the car is perfectly comfortable, and you feel very confident also going into a corner with the car. The road noise is noticeable. Keep that in mind when buying this car. Road noise is noticeable. It's also a lot about the tires. I mean, the standard Nexon tires are not that great. They are pretty loud. I now have my winter tires on this car, and the road noise is a lot less. So You can take into consideration when buying this car to maybe fit other tires straight out factory, or maybe ask your dealer to fit other tires which will make less noise, and that will also make the car more comfortable. But if you drive on a highway, there is still road noise. The road noise is still noticeable, and especially with the standard next-gen tires. It's just how it is. So the car does have 3 drive modes you can choose from. These ones are Eco, Comfort and Sport mode. I always have the car on Comfort mode. That's because, well, with Comfort mode you can do exactly the same thing, in my opinion, as you can do with Eco mode. Because in Eco mode the car doesn't let you accelerate that quickly. But if you just don't floor your pedal in Comfort mode, you can do exactly the same. So you can, and I think in Comfort mode it will turn down the air conditioning a little bit, but on the whole battery pack, the capacity of the battery pack, the actual energy amount that the air conditioning uses is not that much. And in Sport mode, I find the car too nervous. It will react instantly when you put down your foot on the pedal. In my opinion, it's too nervous. I only use it when I want to race someone at the traffic light. I gotta be honest, everyone does it now, every once in a while, especially in an electric car. And also the problem is, even in sport mode, even in comfort mode, when you floor your foot to the ground, the car has too much power and the wheels will spin. It will do that on especially on a wet road it will do that, but even on a dry road, when you are in the traffic light and you floor it to the ground, your wheels will spin. It does that in comfort mode, and it's even worse in sport mode. Of course, the traction control will handle it and you will go off, but there's just too much power for only the front wheels. Actually, it's 215 and there's so much torque. The front wheels can't handle it. So personally, I just leave it in comfort mode. Sports mode is fun. I gotta say, sports mode is fun. I've never put it in Eco. You also have an Eco Plus mode, which is even worse than Eco. Your car is even, well, it's still not slow, but not as responsive, and I don't like it, and that's why I don't use it. But if you really want to get the maximum range, so if you want to go beyond that 450 kilometers of range, maybe Eco Plus mode is an option. Also, when you floor your pedal to the ground, doesn't matter in what mode, the car will torque steer, so you gotta keep your hands on the steering wheel when you do that. So all the power is nice and all the power is huge fun, don't get me wrong, but the power is just a little bit too much for just these 2 front wheels. So being an electric, well, not being an electric car, being a modern car, of course the Kona Electric has all kinds of driving assistance possibilities and systems, and I've already said systems. So what do we have? Actually, we have a lane keeping assistant. This will keep you in lane, so that means if you're not turn on your turning signal, you come too close to a little white stripe, it will keep you in lane. It will steer you a little bit back. Keep in mind, this system only works if you're driving above 60 kilometers an hour. The car has a front collision warning and also front collision protection system. That's not the official word, that's what I make of it. So it will actually stop for pedestrians or bicycles or any other car in front of you when it detects that you're going to hit it. The system is a little bit too sensitive in my opinion. I've got it on the lowest sensitivity settings, and still sometimes it goes off like beep, 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 and it scares me to shit because I am actually braking, but it wants me to brake harder. So if it is a good or a bad thing, I'll leave it up to you. I think it's a little bit too sensitive, but I cannot put it any lower than this. It also has a smart cruise control, so the cruise control will keep the distance to the car in front of you. It will keep a certain distance to what you set it in. It will slow down. It will slow down to a stop, so you can use it in stop and go traffic. The only downside about it is that when the car has stopped, you will actually have to make it go again by yourself. So you have to press the acceleration pedal a little bit, and then the car starts going again. This is annoying, and I haven't found any setting that I can turn this off. I mean, if I am on the smart cruise control, I just want my car to stop by itself, and when everything is going to drive again, I want it to drive by itself. For some reason, it doesn't do that. It also has rear collision warning, so you got these little lights in your mirrors that there is someone in your dead angle. Is it an English word? I don't know. There is someone at a place where you probably don't see it. So that is all good. Everything is up to date, everything is modern. The smart cruise control works good. It also has active, I forgot to mention, it also has active steering, so it will keep you in lane. You do have to hold on to the steering wheel. If you don't do that, in my opinion, it tends to go to the right a little bit, and then it will hug the line, and because it's hugging the line, the steering wheel will correct, the car will correct it every time. And so it works. You have to keep your car in the center of the lane itself, but if you tend to go out of it, the car will steer you. We're actually in a corner now, so let's just do it. Let's put it on cruise. This is allowed, and as you can see, I hope you can see it, the car will steer by itself. It will turn a little bit. You can let go of the steering wheel. Of course, after a while, not that long period of time, the car will notice you, hey, keep your hands on the steering wheel, please, you're still responsible. It's already saying it with a little beep. It's also keeping the distance in front of me, so that all works great. Of course, being an electric car, the car also regenerates energy. You can control the regeneration amount by using the pedals on your steering wheel. So pressing the pedal on the left, on the right, sorry, will decrease the amount of regeneration that's being done. Pressing the pedal on the left will increase the regeneration that's being done as soon as you lift your foot off the accelerator. Also, when you put your foot on the brakes, the car will first use the regenerative braking to slow down the car, and for the last bit of braking it will use the physical brakes, or when you brake really hard it will use the physical brakes. So there's also an automatic modus. The car will use the radar in front of the car to look at the distance to the car in front of you, and according to that distance it will use the proper regenerative braking. So in that way you always use the regeneration, and because of that you will have a larger range, especially when you drive in the city. Of course, that will make a huge difference. So what about the charging of the Kona Electric? Well, on the fast charger, as we're doing now, it can charge up to 80 kilowatts, and that means that from 0 to 80% it's taking about 40 minutes. In my ideal world it can do 100 kilowatts, so that in half an hour you are on the go again. But 80 kilowatts, it's decent, but again, in my opinion, it should be just a little bit higher. Unfortunately, they don't fix that, or they don't upgrade that in the 2020 model. On an AC charger, it does have a one-phase onboard charger, so that means on 16 amps you can only get 3.2 kilowatts, and on 32 amps you can only take 7.2 kilowatts instead of the 11 or 22. And well, for the Netherlands that is a huge drawback, because most AC chargers here are 3-phase 16 amp chargers, so that means 11 kilowatts, and I can only get 3.2, so it takes me 3 times as long to charge this car fully if I'm on an AC charger. What they do fix in the 2020 model is the car will get an 11 kilowatt 3-phase onboard charger, so that means for me, if I had a 2020 model on the regular AC charger, it would charge 3 times as fast, and that can really make the difference between needing an additional DC charging stop when you go on a long trip and stay there for a while, and to not have to do that and drive home in one bit. Another drawback in winter, right now it is winter, it is officially winter, it's cold, and when the battery is cold you don't reach the maximum charging speed of this car quite easy. It does have a winter mode, and the winter mode should warm up the battery as you're driving under cold conditions. Only in my experience, to get the full 80 kilowatts charging, you have to drive around 1.5 hours on the highway to get that speed, to warm up the battery enough to get a proper speed. So if you plan to go, if it is cold and you plan to go to a fast charger directly, it is a little bit of a waste of time, because you won't get fast charging speed. You will get, if the battery is really cold, 25-30 kilowatts, and that's just not worth it. And it does have active battery cooling. It does that with the liquid, and also active battery heating. Only the heater and / cooler is not good enough to cope with very hard conditions like -5, -10. You just have to drive for a long time for the battery to warm up to reach maximum speed while charging. So what do I think of the Kona Electric? Well, it is a compact crossover, and because of that, it's not the biggest car in the world. And for that, for people with children, it's not going to be big enough. For me, we're with 2 persons, it's fine, but the space and the practicality is the biggest con of this car. What are the pros then? Well, it has a huge range. For an EV, it has a huge range. 400 to 450 kilometers in summer. That's plenty enough for most of the people out there. You do have the 3-phase charging that is getting fixed in the 2020 model, and also the 2020 model will get a better infotainment screen. So wrap this all up, I still think this is an amazing electric vehicle. The 2020 model is even better, so if you own one of these, I still think you have one of the best electric cars in the world today. If you like this video and you want to see more of this in the future, please like and subscribe. If you did not, please leave a comment to see what I can improve. And then I would like to say now, as always, thank you a lot for watching, and to be continued.